to do piecewise function and piecewise function notes. We're going to do it in 3 different parts, okay, to match what kind of type of problems you're going to have to do. So first of all, function notation. So this should be a review for you, but we need to kind of talk about what this is and how you read it. If you have the symbol that looks like this reads f of x. Some of the things that you really need to know about this is, remember, this right there, that piece right there, is the x value. That's the x value, so that's the horizontal value. Okay, so just remember the x value is the horizontal value. If you look at this whole thing together, so not the green part, but the whole thing, that whole thing together is the y value, or the vertical value. So if you understand that, and you know you got a graph, and the x values are here and the y values are here, then the x value is the stuff that's in the parentheses, and the y value is the entire thing together. So what I mean by that is, if I give you a problem like this, where you're supposed, so this is example 1, you can copy this down, but you're supposed to evaluate f of 1. Notice right down here, this down here is saying evaluate, that's x is going to equal 1. So we're supposed to evaluate when x equals 1. Well, if I kind of highlight when x is 1, if I zoom in here and highlight when x is 1, x is 1 right there. So if I kind of look at my value, everywhere on that blue line is when x equals 1. Well, so now we just have to match up what value our graph equals when x equals 1. And if we were to do that, we could see that, the graph kind of comes in there, and then there's a hole right where that parabola is. But then right down here at the bottom, right here, there's our value. That's the value of 6. So f of -6, f of 1 is equal to -6, because that's where our graph or our function is filled in right there. So that's the answer to that type of problem. Take a look at something like this. It looks really confusing. This is what we call a piecewise function. It's got different pieces to it. And when it looks confusing, but just know that it's just 3 different pieces. So you just try to figure out what x value you're talking about, and that will help you figure out what the y value is. Because remember, if you think about what's happening here, the x values are over here on the horizontal, the y values are up here on the vertical. So if we're asked to find out f of 5, okay, again, in that case, we're kind of looking at, well, where is 5? 5 is right here. 5 is right here. So if you look at 5, that's 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we're asked to figure out what the value of f of 5 is, well, it's sitting right there. We could write this, and this would be 0, because that's the x value. What if I asked you to find something like f of -6? If I asked to find f of -6, well, so what we're going to do is we're going to take that -6. Remember that -6 is the x value. That's the horizontal value. That's right here. -6 is on this line, that line, vertical line. So that is the vertical line, x equals -6. And if we look at, well, where does this thing cross it? Well, oh, it's right up there. Well, what's that value right there? That's 7. So we use different parts of this graph depending on what our x value is. Notice that we use, there's 3 different parts here, and we use different parts depending on what our x value is. So for example, if I did one more and I said, what is f of 2? Okay, the x value is 2. So here's 2. Kind of figure out what that, oh, well, we're using this new little part of the graph here. It's right here. That's equal, has a y value of 4. So different ways to kind of determine what part of the graph we look at. It depends on what value for x we have. Now do those problems, and then you should be in good shape.